Chapter 7. The King of All Chickens. The morning broke with the sound of a rooster crowing. Pill's first thought was that he was late for something. He rolled sharply in bed, hands scrabbling over the nightstand in search of an alarm clock. Instead, he found a rock. Also, his mattress was less a mattress and more a bale of hay. His second thought, once his mind started to reorient its expectations, was that it was odd to say that roosters crowed. After all, crows were never said to rooster. Finally, his third, and what probably should have been his first thought, sparked. Where was he? The forest was still in sight overhead. The rising sun to the east threw long columns of black over the open grounds where Pill and Chirp had spent their night buried in the hay. His memories, as they always were hazy and confused. The harvestmen had dropped them off here, he thought, and there was the slight notion that maybe they had said their goodbyes, or at least promised a future meeting, but he couldn't actually remember where he was supposed to be right now. It certainly didn't look like a town. Smoke was rising through the air. Pill followed its billowing trail back down through the tree line to where it emanated from a small stone chimney where the lone rooster crowed. Roostered? Calling for all the denizens of the wood to rise. Chirp answered the call with his usual exuberance. Yawning, stretching, and grasping around for something nearby, his hand fell around a tight clump of mud with some bobbly bits in it, and he hucked it up at the rooster before Pill could stop him. The rooster fled down the rough shingles to land where a large convention of hens and chickens and other various words for small egg-laying game bird were pecking about. "Hey, you out there!" called an angry, high-pitched, and somewhat stringy-sounding voice. "Quit throwing things at my birds, and get out of my hay!" A short, angry, and somewhat stringy-looking woman was yelling at them from the upper window of a crooked-looking cabin. While it did have a typical log cabin sort of shape, at least in theory, her home was all over the place in practice. Logs bent at odd angles before folding and knotting back into themselves like a thicket of tree branches, and while it was built in a generally rectangular sort of shape, it was far taller than it was wide. The windows near the top were slanted, creating together the effect of angry or perhaps befuddled-looking eyes, as if the house was frustrated at its own botched existence. A wayward breeze might have brought the whole thing crashing down on itself if not for the sheer force of stubborn will that was the old woman, who seemed to be holding the place together with a facial expression that warned of general malice. Pill rolled to his feet, eager to exit the woman's pile of hay, and ushered Chirp to do the same. The old woman managed to make her way down through the crooked house and out the crooked front door, taking several short but very quick and crooked steps to the two of them before they could find their way free. Despite her diminutive stature, she towered over the both of them while they were in the dirt. "What are you doing on my land?" she asked, glowering. Pill was pulling straw from his sleeves. When he felt the morning chill settle into him, he stuffed some back in. "We fell asleep," he said stupidly. "You fell asleep," the old woman said, cockeyed. Or maybe not. Now that she was standing closer, Pill could see that one of her eyes was noticeably larger than the other. He tried not to stare. "And why were you in my hay to begin with?" "It's not your hay," said Chirp, still yawning. "It's the old guy's." He looked around. "Wait, where did he go?" "You slept all night, Chirp," said Pill. "He must have dropped us off here. Sorry," he added, looking at the old woman while trying not to stare at her eye. "We caught a ride with a farmer last night. I guess that hay he was bringing was yours, and he must have dropped us off with it." "That makes sense, I suppose," the old woman said, still scowling. "Guess we better put you two to work, then." "Wait, what?" Pill asked, finally picking himself up from the ground. Chirp rose beside him. "We're not here for work. We're trying to get to town." "Seems like nobody's willing to work these days," the old woman spat. Chickens balked distantly. "Still, while you're on my property, you can at least manage to answer me something. You two have names?" "I'm Chirp," Chirp chirped. "And this is Pill. Who are you?" "Name's Barb," said the stringy old woman. "Short for Barb Baba. Nobody calls me that. It's Barb or yes ma'am, or you can call me from somewhere else, 'cause you ain't welcome on the homestead otherwise." "Yes ma'am," said Pill. "Sorry, we didn't mean to intrude on your home. We can be on our way, but is there a phone we could use first?" "I might have one," said Barb, glancing up to the crooked house. "Who do you want to call?" Pill thought on it, and, for the first time, realized he didn't actually have anyone to call. At most, he could try and reach the local police, but what would he actually say? Could he even explain where he was? All he could tell them, really, was that he and Chirp had been trespassing on an old chicken lady's land. Do you know your mom's number, Chirp? 7. No, I think she's 8. Thanks, Chirp, said Pill flatly. We'll just be on our way then, and Chirp is sorry for throwing mud at your rooster. Throwing what at my what? Barb asked as Chirp protested that he wasn't sorry at all. Her too large eye looked even larger at the roof. Where Chirp's mud ball had hit, a huge slick of brown was now trailing down the side of the wall. Pill couldn't help but admire the aim and distance in the throw. Now that won't do at all, and here I thought you'd just throw a rock or something. Look at that, my house looks terrible. Her house did look terrible, Pill agreed, but not because of the mud. He kept quiet on that, and hoped Chirp wouldn't say it for him. We could clean it up for you, he offered quickly. If we do that, could you point us on our way to town? So that's your scam, is it? Barb asked pointedly. She chewed at her lower lip like it was a stick of gum. You with the festival folk, then? Yeah, you'd fit right in with those hucksters. Paint an old lady's house with mud and then offer to remove it for the right fee, huh? She turned her long, beak-like nose high into the air. But then you did ask nicely, she said, untensing her shoulders. And it's all too rare someone actually tries to make amends for their mistakes, much less cares to admit 'em. All right, help me out and I can point you two on your way to town. Pill reached out to shake her hand, but she pulled back sharply. If you also do me a couple chores, she added. Remember what I said about people not wanting to work anymore? My help ran off on me and I need to gather up a few things quick-like. It'll be good for you, too, because those things need to be ran into town and I don't have time to do it all myself. You carry it there for me and you'll have your directions. What do you say? She eyed Pill carefully. Chirp was already lapsed in attention, watching distant birds as they flew over the trees, and waited for Pill to decide the course of their day. Barb's great eye twitched between the two of them, weighing their answer. With a suppressed sigh, Pill took her hand. Fine, it's a deal. Great, said Barb. She clapped her hands on her knees and hiked up her long gown before wading through a thick of mud, beckoning for the boys to follow. The hay they had slept in was a dry island in the sea of surrounding muck. Come on, then. It ain't much that needs doing, but it's messy work. Pill tried to step through the field carefully at first, but after nearly losing his shoe as he sunk into the mud, he decided it was best to quickly hop through instead. Chirp was light enough that he could walk above it all. Pill only had to worry about the boy diving in face first by choice. A couple of my chickens got loose last night, said Barb, pointing at the mud. See those tracks? I need you to look around and gather them all up for me. I'll mend the chicken wire before the rest grow a brain and decide to wander out as well. After that, if you're not too grimy, I'll need you to gather up all the eggs from the hen house and basket 'em up. They're meant for the feast tonight, so those cooks over in town are going to need 'em real soon. Once you get the eggs collected, and you've cleaned up that mess you made with the mud, I'll borrow you to a wagon and set you on your way. Pill nodded along absent-mindedly with lots of sures and yes ma'ams. The old woman was a force of her own, and he had to fight not to stare at her overly large eye, but he felt he had known her type before. Ordinary old farmer women wanted everything done their way, and they had to be tough to get it. He wondered if he had had a neighbor like her before, perhaps even an aunt or a grandmother. While she was stern and certainly demanding, she didn't seem cruel. She just had business that needed doing, and everyone needed to either step up or step out of her way. I've never caught chickens before, Chirp said to Pill. Mum was great at it, though. Is it like catching frogs? Sort of, said Pill, especially with all this mud. But I've never been bit by a frog before. Can't say the same about chickens. They bite? Well, more like they just peck. Chickens don't have teeth. They might not have teeth, said Barb, but that don't mean they can't rip you to shreds on a bad day. I've seen bigger boys than you get torn to pieces for getting on the wrong side of a chicken. Those claws of theirs ain't nothing to scoff at. They have claws? Chirp asked, growing pale. Pill watched the old woman snicker to herself. They have tough feet, he said, but they're not too bad. Don't go looking for a fight and you won't find one. Rules for living if I ever heard 'em, Barb said, nodding. Now you two get to work while I mend that wire. She stomped off toward the coop, where several small birds were bobbing their heads eagerly for the morning corn. I don't know how to catch chickens, Pill, said Chirp, who was looking anxiously over the muddy field. Scattered scraggles of scrub brush were providing ample cover for the missing fowl. Well, how did you catch frogs? I never caught any frogs, Chirp said, looking at his feet. I just chased them around. They're too slippery. What if the chickens peck me? Pill stood in the muck, thinking while trying not to sink. It felt a bit like pedaling a bicycle, only instead of pedals it was mud. In that case, you should go looking for them, and then chase them toward me when you find them, okay? We'll put your chasing skills to use, and I'll do the catching. I got good padded sleeves, so I can scoop them all up and carry them over to the coop without being pecked too bad, I think. But what if they get you in the face? They'll peck your face right off. They won't peck my face off, Chirp. Are you sure? Yes, said Pill. Still, he tucked his lips inward. A doubt was growing. Chirp's expression told him that this was an equitable division of labor, and he raced off to search through the scrag, following chicken tracks that wound over the mud. Pill was still struggling to keep his eyes open, not feeling fully awake or fully warm yet, and he had yet to shake the stiffness of sleep away. He flexed his fingers roughly. It didn't take long for Chirp to round up a veritable storm of chickens as he hounded along their trail. Evidently, more had wandered out from their paddock than Barb implied. Pill had meant for the boy to chase maybe a few chickens over to him, a couple at a time, but his mistake was in assuming Chirp was a reasonable person. Now he had to worry about the crashing waves of beak and feather and talon being driven his way. Many of the chickens didn't even seem to be afraid of Chirp, simply running alongside the others because that seemed to be the popular thing to do in chicken circles. Others had actually fallen behind his pace and were clucking angrily as they followed hot on his heels. Oh boy, Pill sighed, bracing himself as Chirp began a slow, rounding path through the mud right toward him. Here we go. It was a bit like being hit by a sudden snow squall, only sharper and louder. Pill retreated his face into his fleece as feathers crashed against him, a battle of fashionable materials being fought at his chest. The front-line fleece held strong. Muddy chicken print was running up his legs and back as they swarmed around him, their ire now shifted from Chirp to Pill, and he waded through the fouled mud like a half-chicken, half-man, trying to see through the sea of feathers. That's it, easy now, Barb called. He could hear her clanking a heavy chain fence open. I got the wire mended, so just run 'em all in. You did get 'em all, right? I think so, Pill said quietly. He didn't want to open his mouth too far, lest a chicken mistake his tongue for a worm. Barb recited a list of names alphabetically as he passed, counting through the clouds of feathers. Maybe it was the comfort of familiar grounds after a night in the unknown, but Pill noticed the chickens quieted quickly after coming home. They settled among their peers to cluck about the adventures they had had before turning to peck at the ground in search of errant corn. I think that's all of them, Chirp said. Pill turned to see him waiting on the other side of the fence with Barb. The gate was closed. They won't bother you none now that they're fed and sheltered again, said Barb. Go round up the eggs while they're all tuckered out now. They'll be in that coop over there. And be quick about it. There's baskets for you to use inside. What are you going to do? I'm going to get that wagon ready, said Barb. She ruffled Chirp's hair. And this one's going to clean up the side of my house. That was the deal, right? Right. Just be careful, Chirp, said Pill, who was starting to worry. I'm always careful. He worried even more. The gate isn't tricky to loose once you're done, said Barb. For a chicken, maybe, but not if you got opposable thumbs. Pill nodded and flexed his fingers. They worked well enough. The coop behind him wasn't a large structure by any means, nor did it look all that more sturdy than Barb's slowly collapsing cabin. They even looked similar. Both were taller than they were wide, but still safe enough from the wild elements as to be considered shelter. A small flap door was cut into the side so that the chickens could roam in and out as they pleased. A second door, maybe only twice as tall, allowed Pill to hunch his way inside. The first thing he noticed was the heavy smell of chickens. It was bad enough out in the pen, but the smell magnified tenfold in the coop. It was condensed, as if the air had all been filtered through a chicken's beak and sent out the other end. It didn't bother him too much, though. Pill knew that a city gremlin might wrinkle their nose and roll up the windows even passing by such a smell on a faraway road, but he was made of tougher stuff. To him, the smell was familiar. Comforting, even. He was surrounded by books. Not in the chicken coop, he wasn't quite there anymore, but somewhere else off in his mind. His hands smelled of farm work as he turned the pages of endless tomes. The words were right in front of him, promises of better lives and better worlds and better faces, destinies written in ink, all in which he was the hero. He turned the page, excited, and wasn't at all surprised by the little smear of grime his thumb left behind. All his books had been marked in such a fashion. They were well worn, well loved. A book wasn't a thing to be captured and kept pristine, he knew. It was a thing to be experienced, to be lived. He had lived in those books for days and weeks and years, stealing minutes of fantasy between the mundane. The second thing he noticed on entering the chicken coop was a pair of eyes staring right at him. A young man had wedged himself into the top-shelf nests. Pill's eyes went wide in shock. "All right, you found me," the stranger said. He raised a finger to his lips. "Shh, don't tell her I'm here." "Who are you?" Pill asked, taken aback. "And what are you doing in there?" "Bok bok, I'm a chicken, bok bok bok," the stranger clucked loudly. Then he whispered, "Don't worry, I moved all the eggs out of the way." "And Barb was mad at me," Pill said, studying the strange scene. "All we did was fall asleep in some hay. She's going to be furious when she finds out someone's been sleeping in her chicken coop. You should probably leave." "No," the stranger protested, retreating deeper into the nest. "It's fine, really. I'm allowed to be here. She just doesn't know that I never left. Hi, I'm Jaeger." He stuck a hand out from the nest. Pill didn't take it. "I'm her grandson," he added, wriggling between the nested shelves. "And it wasn't exactly my choice to be here, you know." "So leave the nest," said Pill. "I didn't mean here in the coop," said the chicken boy named Jaeger. "I meant here, the cabin, the homestead, out here in the woods. Staying with my grandmother was my first choice." "You don't like it here?" asked Pill. There was a pile of woven baskets in the corner, stuffed tight with straw. He took one. There were still eggs to be collected, after all, and he knew how to work and talk. "She seems all right." "She's mean," said Jaeger, "and she's always giving me chores." Wedged into the shelf, it was hard to tell the boy's age, height, look, or really anything about him at all other than that he was skilled at wedging himself into small places. That, and he didn't seem to like working much. "That's just part of living on a farm," said Pill. He was rapidly filling his basket with eggs. The hens had been hard at work, and Barb had many of them. He grabbed another basket. "It sounds like this should be your job, not mine." "I know," said Jaeger, "but I don't like doing it. And I don't like being here. Grandma's fine, but, well, you met her. She's scary." "Maybe a little," Pill admitted, imagining her wide, crooked eye. "I think that's just how farmers are sometimes, you know? You spend all day in the field handling crops and animals, and you start forgetting how to handle people." "You know a lot of farmers?" Pill nodded, then shook his head. "Yeah, no, sort of. I'm not sure, but it sounds right." Jaeger laughed, and when he did, it was with the same cawing as the rooster on the roof. "Okay, we'll come back when you actually know what you're talking about." That prickled under Pill's skin, and he grit his teeth. "Maybe I don't remember every little thing about farm life," he said bitterly, "but at least I'm not hiding in a chicken coop," he added more loudly. All right, I give," said Jaeger, who sounded very small. "Please don't tell her where I am. Bok, bok, bok. You don't know what it's like." "Why are you doing that?" "Doing what?" "Clucking." Jaeger bit at his lip in thought. "I think it's called crowing." "No, roosters crow, hens cluck. Shouldn't I be a rooster instead of a hen?" "I don't think you should be here at all." "You're right," said Jaeger. He pulled himself from the shelf and fell to the floor. Now Pill could see that he was thin and stringy like his grandmother, but very tall as well. He marveled at how the boy had ever managed to cram himself into the shelf. "And I'm crowing, clucking, whatever, so that my grandmother thinks I'm just a chicken." "Well, you've got me convinced," said Pill. He filled another basket. Jaeger took one from the pile and started grabbing eggs from the shelves. "You don't know what it's like when everything changes on you," he said. "It's hard, okay? I don't want to be here." "So why are you here?" "I don't want to talk about it," said Jaeger sadly. There wasn't anywhere else to go." Pill sighed. "I get it," he said. "Kind of. Maybe. Maybe I don't. I'm not sure, actually. You're right that I don't know you, so I don't know what things are like for you here, but from what I've seen, Barb doesn't seem too bad. She just seems like a grandmother. Is she really that mean to you?" No, Jaeger admitted. "She's just scary." "Grandmothers are like that." "She's always telling me how I'm doing things the wrong way," said Jaeger, who was already on his third basket of eggs. I never do anything right. I'm hiding from chores because I don't want her to pick at everything I do." "Does she do that often?" "She does it about everything," said Yeager. "Well, not always, but I'm always worried she will. It's like I'm walking on eggshells all the time." Pill made sure to watch his step as he moved to the other shelves. "It seems to me like you're doing a good job, though. You got those eggs together pretty quick." "Yeah, but she'll probably say that they're too big, or too small, or too brown, or too white, or she'll find something else to complain about. All she does is complain about things." "I'm starting to see the family resemblance," said Pill. Yeager turned, affronted, and his eye cocked wide. "See? Right there. Anyway, none of that stuff is your fault. Does she really blame you when the chickens lay bad eggs?" "Sort of," said Yeager. "She gets really grumpy when things don't work out the way she wants, and I can't figure out how to help her. It's like nothing I do is ever enough." "Sounds like she's just upset about things in general," said Pill. "That doesn't mean it's your fault." "Maybe. If anything, I'd bet she's upset because you're hiding from her," Pill continued. "And not in the angry sort of way. She's probably worried about you, you know? Maybe even hurt a little. I don't know what circumstances brought you to living here, and I won't pry, but it sounds like she's doing the best she can for you." Yeager nodded at that, stacking more eggs into even more baskets and readying them all beside Pill. "Maybe," he said again. "Well, that's done with. Can I go back to my nest now?" "You were really quick about that," said Pill. "That would have taken me... well, it was faster working together." "The chicken coop is kind of my thing," said Yeager, wedging himself back into the shelves. "It's probably my favorite place to be." Pill wrinkled his nose and gathered up the baskets in his arms. "Just don't forget there's a world outside, too," he said, making for the door. "I can't imagine the chickens make for good conversation." "No, but they're good at listening," said Yeager, smiling. "You are, too, so thanks, I guess." "I'll keep your secret," said Pill, hunching back out the stooped doorway. "But you should talk to your grandmother." Yeager watched him from the shelves, burying himself deep in the straw nests. Pill thought that he nodded. "I'll try." They had collected 12 baskets of eggs together. With his arms full, Pill had to fumble a free finger at the gate. Chirp appeared helpfully and happily enough and got the gate open for him. After, he shoved a muddy rag proudly in Pill's face, pointing out the spot of the house he had helped to clean. Pill thought he had just spread the mud around, but at least it blended in with the stray branches and logs of the haphazard cabin. "Wow," said Chirp, trying to grab at the baskets. Pill held them higher. "Do you think we could make scrambled eggs?" "You probably shouldn't, Chirp." "Sunny side up?" "No." "Then we'll eat 'em raw." "We need to get these to town," Pill said, balancing the baskets precariously high. "Maybe they'll have scrambled eggs at this festival everyone's been talking about." Barb had stacked a nearby wagon high with goods. It wasn't so large that Pill and Chirp wouldn't be able to pull it themselves, but it certainly looked heavy, and the old woman was still running more goods down from her crooked house. Pill and Chirp made sure that everything was balanced well for the walk. Pill also wondered about the matter of getting the wagon back to her later. "Just leave it with the rest of the delivery," said Barb, waving his concern away. "I'll pick it up myself sooner or later, or have my grandson do it." "You told us the place," said Pill, deliberately looking away from the chicken coop, "and who we're supposed to ask for, but I still don't know how to get there." "Oh, that's easy," said Barb. "Follow that dirt down to the edge of the clearing there, and just beyond that you'll find the road. Follow it all the way left about a half hour or so, maybe an hour if you're slow about it, and you'll see town just fine. There's bound to be plenty of folk out and about today." Pill looked down the dirt trail leading from her house. "So, just turn left. That's it? Why did you make us do all those chores if the directions were so easy?" "You offered. I never said the directions were complicated or that you couldn't figure them out yourself. Besides, what if you turned right?" Barb laughed with the same loud haw as her grandson and the rooster. Chirp joined in as well, unsure as to what exactly they were laughing about, but just happy to be happy. "I needed the extra hands, you needed the directions, so it all worked out. Seems you know your chicken handling pretty good." "I guess I do," said Pill. "That grandson of mine didn't give you any problems, did he?" Barb's too large eye gazed down on him, scrutinizing his face before shifting slowly over to the chicken coop. Pill froze, unsure of what to say. Sweat was starting to bead at the back of his neck. "Your grandson is a chicken?" asked Chirp. No, said Pill, startled. Yeah, said Barb, laughing. Yeah, he is. But that don't mean I love him any less. He just needs a little more time in the nest. I didn't know chickens could be people, said Chirp. Pill, are there any chickens in your family? Not the way you mean, Chirp, but maybe. Jaeger seemed nice enough, he said, looking to Barb. He helped me get everything together. Yeah, I thought he might, said Barb, chewing on her lip again. He's better at things when it's someone else doing the asking. I thought maybe someone his own age might help nudge him a bit. I think he's just nervous, Pill offered. Nervous about what? Asked Barb, shooting her crooked eye at Pill again. Ain't nothing to be afraid of around here. That's not true, said Chirp, tugging at the end of Barb's gown. She looked down at him. You have a really scary eye, lady. Pill froze in dead silence, looking aghast at Chirp. He could feel the gaze of Barb's really scary eye doing the same. And then she kept on laughing. Yeah, I guess I do, she said. I mean, I try not to go staring with it, but it's hard, you know. That's what eyes are for. You've been doing a real gentlemanly job not looking too long, by the way, she added, looking at Pill. He struggled to decide where he should look back at her. Now, you got your directions and you got your job, and thank you, young man, for cleaning up that mess you made, she said to Chirp. Too few people are willing to fess up to what they did, much less make amends for it. Next time you two come by, how about you just knock on the door, yeah? You don't need to be spending your nights out in the hay. Sorry again about that, said Pill. We'll say hi next time. I hope you do, said Barb. She licked a finger and set it to the air. I reckon we got a day, maybe two, before things start getting real cold around here. You don't want to be caught sleeping outside when that happens. I'll remember, said Chirp. Yeah, we'll be sure to stay somewhere warm. Good. Barb nodded at the two of them. Now what are you two still standing around here for? Pill and Chirp didn't have much trouble getting the wagon moving. Well, Pill didn't, anyway. Chirp spent his time as he always did, looking about at the wild things of the wood, giving names to the nameless, and asking questions that couldn't be answered. Pill drudged along slowly with the weight of Barb and Jaeger's work at his back. The forest wasn't clearing, but it widened at least, retreating from the side of the road until it was almost ringed over the distance. Overgrown brush and scrub gave way to overgrown fields of grass rolling over low hills. It wasn't long before they could see the smoke rising from the many chimneys of a small hamlet, and travelers were streaming in along other distant roads from the wood and fields, converging in large groups as they all descended on the town. The mud turned to solid dirt beneath their feet, and then to laid stone. The wagon started to roll more easily. They were finally here. They had found a town, and with it, Pill hoped, some answers. Do you think my mom will really be here? Chirp asked. Pill nodded hopefully. I do. Let's go find her.